below freezing is still, I mean, it's not below zero, but
Great.
below freezing or even at freezing with wind is different than
Yeah.
freezing without wind.
Yeah. Like even 90-degree weather without humidity, no,
Yes.
no. Even like, if you're talking about wind and humidity, no, give me, I'm like, what's her name? Let it go, the cold never, yeah.
Frozen.
Yeah, let it go, let
I
it go.
remember,
I think we're live streaming now, just FYI.
say, it's not even time. But anyway, I remember before the current airport in San Juan was completed. I was changing from St. Thomas and we had to go, through San Juan and to go from one terminal to the other because the construction we had to work outside. Talk about humidity slapping you in the
No,
face.
no, I don't do that.
It's like,
It's
oh
exhausting.
my God.
You can't do anything about it.
I remember the first
the
time I
cold
went to
can bundle
Miami was in August and the doors of the airport like slid open. I was like, it's like a brick hitting you.
Like an oven.
Yeah.
Hi, Simari, can you please unmute so I know when to start recording and everything?
Okay. I have muted it since we were just here talking.
That's what just,
Yeah, that's all that, hold on.
Speaking of vacations, where's Catherine? Where's Catherine?
Figured that out.
She was on vacation too.
Oh,
She was on
okay.
her way here.
Oh, I thought she wasn't gonna be here today.
Well, she texted me and she said she might be running late.
Oh, yes, I'm the chair of Parks and.
I'm like,
yeah, I see that now.
just let me know.
And ignore my email.
I didn't know who's taking over that.
It's fine.
no, because I wanted
You
to.
said it today?
Yeah, it's okay.
And I'm the winner out of it. Fact that she-
Hello.
Hello. In fact, she-
What did you do?
She decided as chair, I'm the winner of that, because I got wolves on my brother, so.
You don't smell it?
Not yet.
No.
What's that?
We have 2 minutes.
It's not supposed to start till 6:30, I think.
Hello, Wayne.
Hi,
I just got off work a little while ago.
it's 6:28.
Oh, we got
You
the
were just
main
in Pablo
assistant and
Duarte, right?
the
Yeah, but I was-
secretary.
Exactly.
Queen Bee, that's all right.
I do a lot of stuff also on the
Good.
like my
Okay, how are
program
you?
reviews.
Doing all right.
Where's the sign in there?
What's your,
Oh.
what's
Oh, I
your
have it right here.
position at Pablo
I'm
Duarte?
a community school director, so I direct all the incoming funds.
Okay. Okay, because I know that you don't teach,
Nah,
but you're
I
involved
support,
with them.
I support the team.
Who's the principal there? Xiomara Nova? Still?
No,
No, Ms.
we
Nova
have two,
retired.
we have two principals. now.
Oh, you're also at Juan Pablo?
No, I work
at the
with them.
district.
Uh-huh.
Because when I
Oh,
was
look,
there,
we're-
I was working under
Oh.
Ada Letelier and
That
Xiomara
was one of the
Nova.
last events
Then
that I.
Xiomara Nova
Oh,
became, yeah, I mean, like 20 years ago.
Historic, very good.
Yeah, man. Back.
It's the past. Now we got a principal.
It's not. I think
remember,
it's
like she's
it
super
should turn on.
Oh,
Maybe hold down on things.
It was on.
yeah.
At a meeting.
You're gonna leave it off.
super dope person and really.
Yeah, and
There's
that
one
comes
over
on
there,
and off,
too.
but if you got cold, there's another one here, would you like to sit
You could
here?
probably up it.
Well, no, it's just that, you know, sometimes.
Muchacha,
There was-
One thing, every year you get. Hello. How are you?
We'll try not to burn down the building.
Stop, drop, and roll, guys.
Two wrongs don't make a right.
Two wrongs don't make a right, but we also have to be very clear who the political
Yeah,
allies are.
exactly.
Like, if you are guided by ideology,
Yeah,
you're gonna be
you're done.
screwed.
Yeah, you're right.
I do politics. I know who
Yeah.
the political allies are, and that's why I put myself with.
That was like a
Wait,
sudden pour of
what do you do?
nowhere.
Yeah, I forgot.
I'm
to
sorry,
mention-
Cloud
Higher ed.
passing.
Oh, okay.
You're like, oh.
Yeah,
It's supposed to be,
With an institution or with?
It's like.
Yes.
Which one?
Good Lord, rather, because we had a conversation about.
Mary, you.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Okay.
If you
Not
need to,
disclosed
if you need
because
to
of
come
those
on
reasons.
Zoom, you can come on
Yeah.
Zoom.
No, I know, I have
Yeah, yeah.
the disability form in, so.
Mhm.
So.
But with the rain,
I said,
But now would be the time for people like me to really, I was gonna walk away from higher academia altogether, because it's so toxic.
The sun was out and I said,
It's so, yeah.
Yeah,
It's very political.
everything's.
It's political. It's like, you know, there's no critical thinking involved at all. It's all indoctrination.
Well, it depends on who though, because when I got to the, I was dealing with the people from the Dominican Institute.
Oh, yeah, the DSI?
Yeah. There's no critical, there's money thinking there. I don't care who in front of who I said, but.
There's, yeah,
Jim, did you get?
there's a crisis in enrollment right now because, you know, the professors are not, they're not
Acuity?
delineating a clear pathway from academic to employment. Because.
My pizza got
Joe,
My
remember we
pizza
were
is
the
so
city
cold.
council
It's like 3 hours long.
pre-COVID, we had pizza at these meetings.
Right, we did.
I thought that was supposed to be the deal, but I don't know what happened to the budget.
1, 2, 3,
Oh, we mute.
4,
Well,
5,
You're on mute, right?
I don't know.
Don't unmute us.
But these are the
Fifty,
I'm
eight,
saying.
8, 9,
Are we?
11.
See, Mario, did you start the meeting? You need to mute.
How many do we need?
No, not yet. I think I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We
You
need
need
10.
10 people, I believe.
And then I
Someone
have-
wants to double check.
Yeah.
Because-
One for that.
My name's on there twice, so just FYI.
Oh, that may make a difference.
Well, I didn't
Mine-
count the task forces. I didn't count the task.
Oh, I did.
Unless somebody counts because of their.
No, I count Eleazar's on Zoom.
No, but there's people that have like that
2, 3, 4,
waiver
5, 6,
that they
seven.
could be.
Samara's coming in.
Eleazar's there.
Hey, it is our, yeah.
Yeah,
they
no,
said y'all
Be
the-
remote, you have.
But doesn't one have to be in
Yeah, that's
person?
what I'm saying. It might-
But I don't think
Oh,
anybody
right.
does.
The
Quorum has to
quorum
be in
has to be in
person.
person though.
One
right?
has to be in
The quorum has
person.
to be in
No, no,
person.
but there's people
But
that have.
Eleazar.
Unless they have.
Yes,
People
yes.
that have like
both.
just.
Yeah.
The only two
Just
people
up
that I
there
know that have
is- you
waivers
can-
were Liz and Barbara Fraser.
No, and then
Yeah,
somebody.
but it can be
recommended
from
as well.
month. to
Oh,
month.
yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
But anyway,
But this
so
is
here
the
we are.
executive meeting.
You know, he should give us a list of everybody who
Of
has a
who's
waiver.
on, yeah, I have to double check.
'Cause I thought I didn't have quorum, and then I realized I do
Well,
have
if you have the
quorum.
self-certifying,
Yeah, but we
like,
don't
Yeah,
know
we don't know
that.
who's.
But
Yeah.
we don't know who's who.
Yeah, but they
Right.
should copy the committee chair when they
Yes.
send it in.
Exactly, that's what I,
Yeah.
that's what I
Well,
told.
Anyway,
so we're
so,
gonna ask for a count.
it turns
Second.
out, the
Of the
reason.
committees. Is that what you're talking about?
No, I'm
So we
talking
have
about the
8
people who
here,
got the.
and Elizar's
the
online. so
Waivers.
it's fine.
Yeah,
Maria
it's a
is
good
also
waiver.
here. Hello, Maria.
And no, and
I'm just
there's
gonna,
somebody in my,
check you off
Tanisha has
here
it as
on
well.
the-
Yeah.
Ebenezer
Sign
told me
I
when
don't
she told
see
me. in the
anybody
meeting,
else.
and I was like,
Qué
oh, I
wait,
did that for her.
Good?
So let me.
So
just-
maybe we're
Put that on
okay,
the, on the
So we do have
list.
quorum, and let me just,
Is that the recent one from the website or?
Association of Dominican.
Well, let me mention the following, if you don't
I
mind.
reached out to.
okay. Hey, Luana, if you could give me a second, Luana?
Oh, no,
Sorry,
I'm so sorry.
yeah. No, it's
Okay, sorry about
Yeah, I
that.
just wanted to
Except for the
mention,
officers.
so we were talking
that
about the
needs to be
waivers,
changed,
you know, if you have a disability.
There's a couple.
Obviously, the world is allowed to know you have a disability because you are now part of the quorum, okay? But what it is
You don't
none
have
of our
to
business.
specify.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, agreed. Thank you for
Now, if
that.
someone volunteers it, that's another story,
Right.
but it, you know. And again, we try to be as scrupulous as possible, especially when they're watching. And they're watching.
They're all
Oh, this is
watching.
wicked.
They are watching.
I got a
They
calendar.
Okay,
No, I
so
got a calendar
we're
that my
gonna go
meeting
ahead and
is
get
6.
started. So we do have quorum, and the time now is 6:36. My name is Maria Hernandez. I'm the first vice chair, and we have Daryl here, our second vice. Our chair is running just a few minutes late, so she will be joining us later in the meeting. So thank you all for logging in. I just want to go ahead and get started with just a preview of the approved color themes from our new logo. I don't even know, our voted logo here for the community board. So this is just a preview, and I'm sure Kathy will share a little bit more. So this is a preview of the color theme that was shared in addition to just the logo. If you see the logo up top, we had the rendition updated. So thank you all for your input.
I gave input and they took it.
And here you'll see just the color theme that was approved throughout the slide, and it'll vary month by month, but more or less, we do have the branding.
Sorry, listen, most of what you're saying is that's,
My bad.
that's okay. So what were we saying about the color?
So this, do you recall before we had our brand, the Community Board 12 logo and the branding that we were voting on?
Yeah, I remember voting on that.
Yes.
I didn't,
So the color theme were the supplemental
Yeah.
papers that were part of the packet. If you went to the meeting that we had at North End,
I was in rehab.
okay, well, we also passed it out in a survey on email, and this was the color theme that had the most votes. So by consensus, this was the approved.
Oh, okay.
And I was just sharing that this is just a preview, and we'll dive a little bit deeper once Kathy comes in with some more information.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem.
Well, I have news for everyone. That entrance on the A train from Overlook Terrace to 184th Street, it just opened.
Oops, sorry.
Today, really?
Yeah.
Excited.
So we're just gonna carry on with our norms here. And
Okay.
I'll just have the slide up more for your reference point later on. But just again, one mic, one voice, giving everyone the chance to speak, not engaging in back and forth in the chat, allowing everyone their 2-minute speaking time when they are raising their hand, which is another one of the norms. So I'll just keep moving here. This is more for the general meeting. Daryl?
Just a quick question. Can we see who else is participating online?
In the chat, or
No.
No, if you go to
Arrow at the
participants.
Participants.
I can see them like on mine. I don't think you see it in the screen share.
Click on it and see what happens.
Well, that's my screen share, but like it's,
No,
you
it's
see it on yours?
At
If you go to participants there,
The
is
tab
it
is
that
fine.
You
one?
need to go to the other computer on the projector.
Oh, I
Let
see.
me-
Domingo
I've got
has
two
it.
arms, people. Yeah, so I promoted
so Debbie's
Tanisha,
here.
who's in the chat. Debbie is also
Yeah.
present now,
Might as
but we
well.
had quorum from before.
Oh, okay.
Mhm. That's why I started.
Okay, no, that's fine. I just didn't know who else was there.
Oh, no, okay.
Yes, this computer controlled that.
We can't
Yeah,
see-
the visual. No, I'm controlling just like the next slide.
Yeah.
from this
We
one.
can't see who all is is on the meeting.
I can hear. So, just moving on to the proposed agenda, I just wanted to have the slide up so everyone can take a look, in case anyone has any edits or we approve to move forward. Is there a motion to approve the agenda and move forward? Motion? Thank you. Okay, thank you. Mary made a motion and Domingo second, so we'll continue on. I had the slide populated. I apologize, I didn't update it, but it was more so the branding. So I'll let Kathy speak to it when she comes in a bit later. With that, I will pass it off to our district manager, Ebenezer.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Always a pleasure being here as your district manager and give you my report. The agenda called this morning, tonight, to give you an update on the staffing updates. The staffing update, as you know, Paola is out on a sick leave. She got a surgery a week ago of her right knee. Has been a surgery. The surgery was very successful. I spoke with her this afternoon and she's recuperating well. She's happy with it and the doctors are happy with the result so far. And she sounds in good health and happy as well. As you know, also Chanel is leaving us on October 27. She will present her resignation like 2 months ago. And we have not too many staff. However, we got the okay from the OMB and the Manhattan Board of President's Office to hire another staff. And our chairperson is looking to have not only replace Chanel, but also to have a part-time person as well. Last week, a job posting for a part-time employee went out. We've received so far a few resumes, and we are planning to have a candidate for before the next executive committee meeting in November for this position. And then we're gonna have another posting for the full-time position to replace Chanel. This is the update that we have from the staffing so far. And regarding the district service cabinet meeting, it's gonna happen this week on Thursday, October 19 at 10 a.m. Everybody's welcome to participate. I have a few items on the agenda upon request of the residents that have been on the agenda. We're going to be discussed to bring this issue to before the city, these agencies, and we're looking to have resolution on behalf of the community. This is the end of my report. Is there any question?
I have a question.
Yes.
Who is OMD?
B.
OMB is the Office of Management Budget.
Management.
Okay, OMD. Okay, thank you.
Yes. Is there any other question?
I don't see any hands on the Zoom.
Thank you. Thank you very much. God bless you all.
Thank you, Ebenezer. So next up, I added these slides in, Michelle, but I don't know if you have an update, so apologies. I just wanted to give you time just in case.
Yeah, yeah, I do have an update and I was gonna share my screen.
I'll stop sharing mine.
Okay. Thank you. I think I still need permissions to share.
Ebenezer, if you can do that, thank you. Hello, Debbie. Hello, Marielle. I counted you guys. Thank you, Daryl, for the reminder. No, I wrote it here because I have to know.
I think you got it now, Michelle.
Yes, okay, I see it. All right, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Cool. So I'm going to go through the report. I've updated it and still have a couple questions for Ebenezer, but I'm sure Ebenezer can fill in the details as I go through the report, or maybe at the end. So treasurer's report today, we separate it out into 3 sections. As you know, the personal, other than personal or OTPS, and the lease. So I'll go through each of these one by one. The data that I'm looking at for this report was pulled on the 12th and presenting it to you today on the 16th. As of today, we're 29% through the fiscal year, and the fiscal year, remember, it starts July 1st of 2023. It runs till June 30th of 2024. Okay, so these codes kind of describe like what each of the different expenditures are for. So for example, personal 001 is the budget that we have for full year positions for our staff, and the budget amount is $241,935, and we've already liquidated 56,000 of that amount. That leaves us with the difference of that is the uncommitted balance. So a couple of things I want to call out here. This is pretty much similar. What's different for us this year is we have a couple of new codes. They're back pay for prior years. So this is a new code. I assume it's tied to the, remember last year they had union negotiations for the for Chanel and Paola's role. And so I think this is what this amount is for. And then this one is also the longevity differential. I believe it's the past year longevity differential. These are slightly new this year.
Yes, you're correct about that, Michelle.
Thank you, Ebenezer. I appreciate it. Yep, and you can see there's we have money budgeted towards it, and then we haven't liquidated any of that yet. Okay, so moving on from personal services, the OTPS services, these tend to be like supplies or, you know, subscriptions that we have. So again, we have supplies and office supplies, printing supplies. You can see we've liquidated some amounts here for office supplies. We have this new code this year, which I'm not sure what it is, but we have $1,000 budgeted towards it. It's code 10X, Ebenezer.
Yes, it's not new. It's there every year, and that code is allocated by the city to get supply from the city warehouse. Usually we never don't use it. What I do is I request to be moved to either code 700, another code. I already sent the request, OMB process it. However, the other part of the city agencies, they haven't cleared that transfer yet. But we never touch it because you need to buy directly from the city warehouse. To be honest with you, the only thing that I know is located in Queens.
Got it. That's super helpful context. Okay, so this will be going away in future reports.
Well, no, it's gonna be transferred to another. You will see 10X there, but with zero balance.
Yes, yes. The 10X will be 0, and then we'll get that $1,000 transferred to 700. Okay, so this is pretty much postage, intercoms, rental. Remember, this one was the one that always has a bit of, we had a bit of surplus in last year. Has about 15K budgeted towards rental, which usually we use for the copier lease. 499 is a holding code. So this is the amount that we were provided from City Council. I'm not sure, Ebenezer, if it's earmarked towards anything or if it's just general use.
Well, not yet.
Okay.
Last year we use it for the last 2 years. We use it to fund the translation services. I need some money from that, but I asked OMB for some clarification to find out exactly how much money was allocated from the council city council on this code. because last year at the fiscal year, we had some amount of money there that I used it to pay some expenditure on the last day. And I don't know if it went clear and it was charged to those funding, and if some funds from last year were transferred here. So I sent an email a week and a half ago, but they haven't replied to me yet. And I called today, and I was not able to get hold on the person because I want to make sure how much funds the city council allocated to us in this code.
Got it.
The last
Okay.
year was only $10,000.
Yeah, this was a little higher this year. Okay, this is professional services for a consultant, and then 700 is fixed charges. It's split into two codes. So this one is funding from the mayor's office. This is funding from city council. And you can see we have some budgeted amount here, 1,500, and then we've already liquidated that, and we've liquidated some in 700 as well. Ebenezer, I was going to ask what these have been liquidated towards.
Yes, this is a payment that I processed, like I was saying before, an expenditure that we had the last date of the fiscal year on June 30th. The event that we have to get together with the community, it was, the fund allocated was from this fund, to pay the restaurant, the food, et cetera. I processed the payment, thinking they're gonna go to the last fiscal year, but they put it on this one. That's why you see that we have these funds there. One is liquidated, the other one is not, because it gave me a little hard time trying to process that payment at the beginning of July. So I tried to clarify this matter to see if we need to swallow with this budget, or the extra money that I think we have, the 2,500, is coming from last fiscal year. So I need to clarify that matter in order to be able to understand, if we got 10,000 or 12,000 this year. So, but we were working on clarify that. But that was the payment from the community get together on June 30th.
Got it. Okay, so that was the liquidated this.
No, the 1,540 has been used to pay cleaning the office and also translation services. And the 732 was the payment that I used to pay for the services that we have in June 30th.
Okay, for the event. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And you're finding out if we can use last fiscal year's money for that instead.
I tried to clarify if we roll over.
Okay, perfect. Thanks. Yeah, keep me posted on that, and we can present it out as we know. In terms of the lease, there's not too much to say here. We haven't yet liquidated any of this amount.
Well, I need to let you know for the lease, I was able to pay it at the beginning in July, last year rent. It was paid, and the funds was ready at the end and the beginning of July, able to pay. So we are up to date with rent.
Oh, sounds good. So we wouldn't need to pay for another couple months, or maybe at the end of maybe next year. Okay, that sounds good. It's pretty much, these are pretty much the notes that I had is, the new codes that came up, the back pay and the past year longevity differential, code 10X, and yes, the 12,500 provided by city council, which Ebenezer clarified, as well as the amount that we have liquidated. So I'll change my notes and modify this based on the information from Ebenezer and send it out to you, Catherine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. You have a question?
Yeah. Hey, Michelle.
Hey.
No, I actually want to commend you. This is the most fiscally, what you call this word? Like the most, no, fiscally transparent that I've seen in the board since I joined it. So I want to just say you're doing a great job, and damn, thank you.
Thank
I
you,
guess,
Michelle.
yeah, good job.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. I'm just mostly, depending on Ebenezer here to fill in the details and just trying to, take what's in the report and make it more approachable for folks.
Thank you, Michelle.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Any other questions?
Just praises in the chat for you, Michelle.
Oh, that's so kind of you guys. Thanks. Okay, well, I'll send it out to Catherine and then I'll follow up with the details that Ebenezer added.
Thank you. So we'll keep going with our agenda here. And the next item is review of future meeting items. So here, I'm going to just screen share the November 2023 calendar first. I know I've heard some comments here, so let me just go to the right calendar. So again, this is November. So I will say if you have any edits, suggestions, or requests, if you can raise your hand, and then we can take notes and make the corresponding edits.
Yeah, so for us, we were a little confused because when we reviewed,
Okay.
in our committee meeting this month, we were looking to see if we fell on election day. On the website, it says our meeting is actually Monday the 6th. So I would have to send a message out to the committee letting them know that it's actually November 13th, not the 6th.
Okay, so the meeting is actually on the 13th, or is it the 6th?
Well, according to this document, it's the 13th.
Okay, but what day should it be?
No, on the website, it says the 6th.
Okay,
That's all it was.
okay, but it should be the 13th.
Yeah.
Okay, so adjust the website. Okay,
And Ebenezer, on my meeting times, I want you to change it from 7 p.m. to 6:30 p.m.
6:30 p.m. for public safety?
Yeah, for public safety. That's correct. Yes.
Okay, everybody agree on that?
for the committee.
To go.
I don't mind.
We got one yes. Mary?
I have an issue with cannabis task force, which I'm supposedly on, except that I am on the traffic and transportation committee. So, unless I clone myself.
Well, that'd be a cool idea.
Oh, Mary, you can clone yourself and not use Gmail like that? I'm just playing.
It's looking tricky. But let's talk about it. I mean, we could talk about like if one remaining there, what's an alternative day? Because I think Mondays are the ones that work. And there's definitely interest from folk on youth attending also there. So we gotta figure it out. Let me figure it out.
I made a note about it so we can circle back. Thank you, Mary.
Hey, Mary, if we started at 6:30, I mean, I'm not even sure how that works, the bylaws or something, where she can at least be there in the beginning. No, all right, whatever. We'll figure it out.
We'll regroup on that one.
Cool.
Anybody else in the room?
You don't want to let me loose, huh?
No, we want you.
Oh no, it's fine. I'm not even bringing. I'm like just making sure folks know after Thanksgiving weekend is when we have a board meeting. But the week before seems like it might be a little crazy.
So we'll all just be a little.
Hola, ¿cómo tú estás?
Hola. Te voy a poner en mute. Okay.
All right.
So anybody else for November? I don't see any hands raised in the Zoom. Oh, hold on. Spoke too soon. Hey, Tanisha.
Hey, everyone. The only comment that I have is that some of these meetings, like the health and environment and the housing and human services, they're on the same day at the same time. So I'm on that housing and human services committee, but I would like to attend, some health and environment committees to be there and see what's going on and to show my presence. So I think that maybe as a group, we should talk about the overlapping of meetings because like the young lady said before me, we can't clone ourselves. So it's very inconvenient because, even if I'm not on the committee, I would like the opportunity to attend some meetings. And where it's at now is kind of impossible. So if that's something that we could talk about and look at in the future, it would be great if all community board members would be able to attend all meetings, even if it's not on their committees. Thank you.
Thanks, Tanisha. Yeah, I've been talking with Marielle about it because she alerted it to me, so it's definitely on the table for the future.
Thank you for that. So I think that wraps up November, so we'll move on to December, and I'll just share hold on, I'm on my laptop. I'll share the December the December calendar, and I'll start with Luana first.
Yeah, some of these meetings, well, the second week in December, they fall on Hanukkah.
Mhm.
So we need to be considerate about the holidays.
It's not a major holiday. You can have all the meetings you want. Doesn't count.
No, what is it, a high holiday?
It's
Okay.
Not any day of it?
None of it.
None of it?
You can double check with Liz, our rabbi, but.
Are you?
Well,
The next rabbi.
Fall,
I
yeah.
mean, I don't think we have in the past either.
No, we don't.
Yeah, we have.
No, but it's not.
It's a minor holiday and part of it, of course, had to do with the fact that everyone else was celebrating
So
Christmas.
public
We wanted a holiday around. And there was this alleged miracle of oil that didn't run out.
Could this, could the Christmas happen?
Would it be deemed like anti-Semitic or anything?
One of the edits, and Ebenezer made it in advance to be aware, right? Executive committee to the Thursday, the 14th, instead of because
That
we gotta
Monday.
move everything up a bit. So just making folks well aware in advance.
Yeah.
So that's why it's in red, the executive and the general.
Yeah.
Hey, wait,
And so, I mean, I'm just going back to, you know, Tanisha's comment. I mean, it's going to be difficult to balance that because years ago, I used to be on public safety when public safety met on Thursdays. And public safety moved to Wednesdays, and ever since then, that's been, you know, a conflict. So it's going to be rather difficult for every board member to be able to attend every meeting.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of factors too. There's a lot of factors too, and so I think one of the things with the task forces is figuring out what, you know, is it 10, is it 11 that we have in total, and how maybe we can spread some out of it if possible. But yeah, I hear that.
If I could comment, the
Yeah.
other thing is maybe, and this is just hypothetical, you know, people who are interested in traffic and transportation don't care about ages. That's just an example, hypothetical. Then they can be on the same day. But
Except I'm on both of those.
that example.
thank you.
I mean, is there any community board that actually can pull this off? Because if they have like a model, then like maybe there's that, but I've never heard of that. There's always going to be overlap.
They're all doubled up, and there's, I mean, and we can talk about it at length. There's a lot of factors for it. I don't think right now would be
Yeah.
good. But particularly now that I would say clearly that's not an edit that can be made, given just the staffing challenges that we're on. Since we're down Paola and we're then gonna be down Chanel.
Right.
I think Daryl had a comment.
Yeah, no, just for the bylaws task force, let's set on December 20th to move it to the 13th. That's okay.
Daryl, what day you want to move it?
To the 13th,
November
the week
13th.
before,
December.
December. Thank you.
December 13.
Yeah,
The same thing we have licensing. Okay.
yes.
Thank you. I don't see any other hands in the Zoom for December. Last call, guys. Okay.
But I'm a bit confused. General board meeting is only one, that Tuesday. There's no other optional. That's it.
I mean,
It's
Okay,
that
I see
one
what- I
because
see
of
what y'all are trying to
the
do.
Christmas holiday?
Yeah. I see what you're-
Then
I won't be here after Christmas for the meeting, I'm sorry.
No, because I'm part of the,
catch a flight. No.
what you call that committee that we do the events every quarter?
oh, for
Oh,
it's
the
not really a
fun-
committee. It's wow, what did I call it?
I'll call it. the
Our
Sunshine
host committee. Our
Yeah.
Yeah,
host-
like the host committee, and we were thinking of doing some, well, we might have to do it that first week then.
Yeah.
Like maybe that first Friday, similar to what we did in,
27th.
December 8th.
that everybody attended,
The
that we
North End?
did on North End and also
Chelas.
on Chelas.
Mhm.
It's just a good
Awesome.
way of being able to keep
Like a
everybody.
social event.
Yeah.
like a
Yeah.
But
social
doing
event.
it on a Friday would be good,
Yeah,
because it doesn't conflict. with
yeah, correct.
Okay.
So whatever Friday, I think between the 8th and the 20th, well, not the 22nd, the 8th, the
8th or
1st
the
And the
15th, yeah.
through the 15th, let me know.
Okay. Thank you.
And that's for what, different?
Oh, that's the yearly, like celebration that we do for the holidays.
Gotcha,
Yeah.
gotcha.
Okay.
So I know we have one coming up in October, if I'm not mistaken, right? And then one in December. Oh, no.
I think
Yeah,
we moved that.
well, we'll have one in
We'll talk
December.
about it, yeah.
There's a lot going. Yeah,
So,
Can't have too much partying,
yeah, too
right?
much partying, right?
Gotta be serious.
onto the fun stuff.
Okay. All right, so,
was
sorry, I'm a little out of it.
Because I was sarcasm.
So I guess we can do this also kind of lightning round style. One, making sure that all submissions for committee rankings are submitted on time. If you have questions, concerns, issues getting it, let's hear that. And then on Thursday, because now that we're hybrid, we have to have it separate. So that and Ebenezer, we should put up the reminder and like what is the hearing tomorrow. I'll just so that members are aware, it's not mandatory. We're not gonna be voting. Yeah, no, we're not voting on it that day per se. And then we'll definitely can use a SharePoint link. So kind of like to make it digital. So it's a lot easier for us to complete both on the capital and expense sides. Is there anything, Ebenezer, that you want to add or I need to say before we open it up to the chairs about this year's budget rankings?
If I could, so it
Yes.
means on Thursday, we're not gonna have to pull our hair out when we try to do those crazy papers. That's wonderful.
Yeah,
Thank you.
we can do, sorry, I said SharePoint, but Microsoft Forms.
Yes, I would like to receive all the ranking for every committee as soon as possible. So I need to gather it and prepare the final document to do the ranking on Thursday. So I have a few committees already. So the one that haven't sent it yet, please send it no later than tomorrow morning. So I have some time to put it together. Remember that the date of the public hearing, I have the District Service Cabinet meeting in the morning. So I don't have that much time to play with that. So the sooner that I receive it, the better.
Can you just give them the date again, Ebenezer, just a reminder? Just
Yes,
in case.
the public hearing gonna be on Thursday, the 19th, this week.
So it's important you send it.
So that's
Thursday.
not
We need
an
a
mandatory
Thursday.
meeting, you're saying?
I will appreciate to have it by tomorrow morning, so I have tomorrow and Wednesday to work with it.
And if I misspoke, please correct me, but my understanding, hearings aren't mandatory for members to be at.
But
Isn't the budget meeting a mandatory for all community board members everywhere? No?
That's a great
It's
question.
a public hearing, yes.
yeah, but
I believe that.
a
Hold
public
on.
hearing, and this is a public hearing for planning type stuff, but a public hearing typically requires 10% of the board members, but not less than 10. So you don't need a quorum of a board like for a general meeting, but we need at least 10 board members to be present
For it to be a hearing, yeah.
for it to be a public hearing.
Okay.
However, as someone pointed out, and we can double check, I believe this budget priority hearing may be mandatory.
Okay, I'll double check and let's make tomorrow morning, we'll double check on that. So when we put the notice out, folks are aware. And then years past, the rankings tend to be low in terms of turnout, but also submission. So we definitely want to encourage, if we can, our committee members to please rank them so that they're more reflective of, what we want and what we see. Wayne had his hand up first and then Darryl, sorry.
Well, no, I just wanted to point out that in recent years, the public participation in the public hearings has been low compared to, as we say in the islands back in Lafayette's time.
Mhm.
And I was speaking to actually Natalie, who used to be on the board and who's now with the Hispanic Society, and she thought because they had not discussed something with the committee that they couldn't come to the public hearing. He said the whole purpose of the public hearing is for CBOs, schools, libraries to come and let us know. So whether they've spoken to a committee about their needs or not, they should be encouraged to come and let us know. And that should be part of the e-blast
Yeah,
that goes out.
Yeah.
I mean, a couple of the last meetings, it's just been board members at the public hearings. So what's the point?
Darren.
Just two things related to its status as a meeting. I think in the bylaws, it's considered a special meeting. So it does count towards attendance. If this
we can double check.
particular, we can double check, but
Okay.
this is part of like an attendance type
But
thing.
it may even be, and again, I don't know where it comes from, but, you know, our main function is doing these priorities. That's pretty much what we're here for the city.
Yeah.
Right.
So ideally, everyone should be there at least to hear the people and, you know, as Kathy pointed out, we can have a computerized way of doing this so we can have a reasonable amount of time to do it.
This Thursday.
Yeah, but also just to be clear about when members rank all the budget priorities, that if they miss the meeting, they can still rank the
Oh,
budget
yeah.
priority.
Yeah.
Because there was a previous chair that didn't want that to happen if you didn't attend that meeting, and like, that's not.
Yeah, Debbie has her head up and then.
Thanks. Two things, one me specific and one process specific. On starting with the process one, we have a lot of new members or people that haven't been through a lot of cycles. So just a reminder, like we should have a really robust sort of contextualization of like what this is, not from the tactical of what's going to happen, that of course, but sort of how the committee feeds into the community board, how the community board feeds into the borough, et cetera, and what that finished product and why it's important and all of that. I feel like it took me like 3 years to figure out like which direction to point. Specific to me, there was Ebenezer had shared with the committee chairs some priorities that came from the agencies, and I kind of forgot about it the night we had our the longest committee meeting ever, and we're doing the rankings. And but I included one of the things that came from DOT on ARC. I included it, but it was unranked, and I just want to know, like, is that okay? Like Ebenezer, like, can it still be included when it goes to the board and the public? But it did not get discussed in the committee.
So I am a little confused. It's a new thing, but you didn't discuss it in your committee. Is that what it is?
No, you had sent it in an email, and then I sort of forgot I had it, and then I was putting everything together, and I was like, oh, it was actually two things, but one of them, I included it in the list that I submitted over the weekend, but I did not give it a ranking because obviously people didn't rank it. But I do think it's something that, broadly speaking, would be appealing to people. So I didn't want to be a spoiler.
You can keep it, continue to support.
If I could interrupt real quick, what we'll do actually is, because since it's all new, she's talking about the list, the email that you sent out with the agency request at the hearing, because some committees met before that anyway. At the hearing, we should have that list. And so we can bring it forth and add it, because at the hearing, people bring things up that are new. So we can be incorporated then on Thursday.
I want to compliment you because you entirely said what I was going to say. We can just add these things after the fact, after the meeting on Thursday.
Yeah. And
no,
then,
that's what I thought. Thank you.
Since it's a form, we'll keep adding and moving things around. So we'll be on the laptop for sure on Thursday.
Okay, appreciate it.
But yeah, so essentially, I think the office has a deadline, so we'll definitely have to send multiple reminders for folks to complete the form. And thanks for that. We'll resend also kind of like that newsletter that has a little explanation about what the budget rankings is and the literal like step 1, step 2, step 3 of what we need to do. But I think that kind of covers it, unless anybody had a question or comment around this year's rankings.
I guess my question too is that, what we get when that has all the items on it, will that be able to be printed out?
Yeah, the final list.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can print that.
Because I can't do it on the computer.
Oh, yeah, we can have both. Sorry, we can do both.
I can't go
So
back and forth on
that's
the
okay.
computer.
I mean, Ebenezer already prepped it anyway, so we could do both of paper form and then the digital or however people want to do it. That's fine.
No, that's it. Because, you know, some of them, have more items and it's like 2 sheets. They gotta go back and forth.
Yeah.
With the ranking. Okay.
Thank you. So we'll definitely circle back just to make sure we raise it to the top of everyone's inbox. So I think next here on the agenda are the committee reports. Oh, hold on, Joel, did you have your hand raised for the budget or
Yeah, I had a quick question. I guess I could also segue into the recap. But sorry, I'm not in person. I just got out of work super late. So I didn't get that email with the list. I guess you said you were gonna send it again.
Yes, we'll have Ebenezer resend it to everyone.
Okay, cool. That sounds good. All right. I'm just for the committee, I'm just gonna refer everybody to the minutes. We, like everyone else, I imagine, discussed the budget. We did our rankings. We had, I think, 5 for each for capital and expense. We had UMass do a quick presentation, the Upper Manhattan Empowerment Zone. We had a New York Life come in, and their business solution team came in and kind of discussed some strategies, 401k, tax strategies, and some of the products that they have. It was generally a good meeting. It was that too, and it was another thing that we discussed. Give me 1 sec because I have it. I have the.
Well, while you look
Yeah.
at that, Joel, I just wanted to say kudos. I know it was last month, but I think the turnout was great for the Latin night market. Yeah.
Yeah, we reviewed it. Thank you, Simari. Yeah, we reviewed it. A part of the meeting, part of the minutes. We reviewed it. We gave some ideas on what was good, some opportunities, and we definitely got good feedback, like you just mentioned. But there was also some opportunities to include businesses to kind of expand it if they could. And we want to see this for next year be turned into something that we can do on a more frequent basis. But overall, it was a great experience. It was great food. It was great energy. Something definitely to uplift the businesses around the actual event. I was there, and I've never seen some of those spots that are new kind of get that busy. So it was good to see. And we discussed that during the meeting. But yeah, so I'll refer everything else to the minutes. If you guys have any questions before, be sure to reach out.
Thank you. I don't see any in the Zoom, but
Joel, who was the other people that came to your meeting? You said New York Life, and who else?
Upper Manhattan Empowerment Zone.
Okay.
UMass.
Thank you.
Yeah, I also did a few announcements for MWBE events, but they already passed, especially for Land Heritage Month. I think the comptroller had an event, and Mark Levine had an event. But I also did, and I'm pretty sure the Cannabis Task Force is gonna. Nobles, I don't want to step on any toes, but we talked about cannabis and how big of a day October 4th was, opening up the licenses.
No stepping on toes whatsoever. It's all
okay.
love, dude. You're good.
All right, thanks, Nobles. But yeah,
thank you,
thank you
Joel.
guys.
Okay, so we'll pass it off to Wayne for land use.
Thank you. So at the October meeting, we discussed about 4 things. We were supposed to have a discussion about a parking lot in this area that has a certificate of occupancy issue. However, there was no representative, so that's tabled. If they come back to us, fine. We went through our budget rankings for fiscal year 24. Land use had only 1 capital and 1 expense item. We noticed that the board ranked each of them number 1. So that was great. But we also noticed in the comments from the mayor's office, it said that, we needed to follow up with city planning and HPD to move forward. And it's just unclear to us if any of that follow-up occurred. So we, sort of tweaked the text for those two items and are supporting them or putting them forward for FY25, but also making a push to ensure that there's follow-up. And I think the committee is going to take on the responsibility of making sure there's follow-up with HPD and city planning. We do note that in Mark Levine's Housing Manhattan Nights report, part of our capital, item is sort of included in there. You can see they paid some attention to it. So that was one item. The Department of City Planning spoke to us last year about 3 City of Yes initiatives. The first was City of Yes for sustainability, and we passed a resolution supporting that. The next one, which I believe is to be released late this month, and they will be presented to us at the November 1st, is the City of Yes for economic opportunity. There was a informational meeting that was recorded. I forwarded a link for that to the committee members. Isidro stopped by, the license committee was interested, so I sent it to him. And Joel also was interested, so I sent it to them. So city planning is encouraging us to review the materials and to view the recorded meeting. If we have any questions, to send them in advance, so when they do the presentation to us on the 1st, they can include responsive materials or things that we're interested in having them talk about in more detail. I think we've discussed before that the Historic Districts Council met with us in June. They met with us a couple other times. They're working with us to help, further the board and the community's interest in historic preservation and landmarking. They created a survey in English and Spanish that's to be shared with residents to ask them what buildings, what areas they think should be, highlighted for preservation and why. And so we need the Ebenezer, we need, and Catherine, the community board to help with outreach. The surveys are available as a PDF. They're available as a Google form, and they're available, actually, the Google form can be accessed through a direct link or through a code. And we just need the board to email it out. And for the PDFs, if we can coordinate with our libraries and schools and community-based organizations so that those copies are out in the community for people who don't want to deal with computers, they can get a hard copy and send it back to the office, and we'll send it back to HDC. But we really want to get the community's input on it so that it's more representative. And the fourth thing is we've talked about the work that the City College Bond Center has done with us, and they created a digital planning platform for Community Board 9, which we discussed, but we didn't really get a good demonstration of that a year or so ago. So probably at the December meeting, which happens to be on a national holiday known as my birthday, they will be, presenting that, but also talking about the equitable development indices, which we've talked about in some cases, some prior meetings, and how that EDI, they can create something for CB12's use that will allow us to measure the impacts of proposed development. So that's for the December meeting.
I have a question. Can they come to the general meeting this month? Because I think it's, ideally we should all complete the survey also as board members. But if they do want to speak during public session or anything like that.
We can invite them to come, and we can certainly circulate the survey, the hard copies with the board package.
Yeah, because if we have those slides up, to Kathy's point, we can put it on the screen share, like it'll be on the YouTube.
So I will send an email to Ebenezer and copy, you, Catherine, and I'll provide the PDFs and the links, and then Anthony created the QR codes as well. So there are, multiple ways to get to it. Folks just have to
Do it.
I
think you have one question in the Zoom, Joel.
Thanks, Wayne. I'm really looking forward to that meeting next month. The City of Yes plan, I looked over it, and that initiative it's amazing. In fact, I wanted to point you to I don't know if you ever heard of the Five Borough Institute. The Five Borough Institute has a proposal, and I'm going to send it to you, Wayne, and maybe we could talk about this offline. Ideas on how to create some of the things that they spoke about it in the report, as in terms of like creating different spaces for commercial real estate. The Five Borough Institute created a study based off of just how the housing market is now, and how office buildings could be used for not just retail space like City of Yes presents it, but also like actual residential space. So I just wanted to tell you that I'm excited for that meeting, and I want to send you that so you could take a look at it. I think you'll find it interesting.
Yeah, I would say that if that's something you would like city planning to also address at the November meeting, when you send it to me, ask whatever question or what you'd like them to look at. And I'll pass it along to them so that, they can be prepared to include that as part of their presentation.
Sure thing. Thank you, Wayne.
Was there a deadline for the survey?
Well, the different survey.
Yeah, I meant the other one, not that.
We talked about having it sort of ongoing, but I think after it's been up for about 60 days, HDC is going to review the responses and, come back to us and say, this is what we see so far. But one of the things we discussed, it might be great to have that like on our website, just available, on an ongoing basis.
Thank you. We'll pass it over to Mary with concerns of the aging.
Speaking of which, I aged a year last week.
Happy birthday, Mary. And that's not the clone, right? That's not the clone. Mary, that's not the clone's birthday. It's your birthday, not the clone's.
Excuse me?
It's not the clone's birthday, it's your birthday.
It was yours, not the clone.
Yeah.
It's hard to tell.
It's 39 and all day.
Oh, nowadays.
Anyway, so we had a great meeting. We had a total of 21, actually, all of my committee members, they weren't all in person. We only had 4 of us in person, but all of the others were on Zoom. So we did have the entire committee present in one way or another, which was a first in a long time. And 12 additional attendees, so total of 21 people, which has been the way it is, that it's been that way, with the Zoom meetings. If we were to go totally in person, I would lose all of those attendees, guaranteed. So I hope that we don't do that. We had a presentation from Stephen Chang, Director of Quality and Patient Safety at New York Presbyterian, on COVID updates, and he talked about not only COVID, but the flu vaccine and the RSV vaccine, the importance of getting all of them, especially if you're an older person. The RSV vaccine is needed because little children and seniors get much worse symptoms. It's sort of a bad cold for older children than young adults, but for the babies and the seniors, it can be, it leads to death, actually. It gets that severe. So they're recommending that you can get the flu and the COVID vaccine together, but the RSV vaccine, they're asking that people wait a couple of weeks afterwards because it's a fairly new vaccine and they're not sure, if you get side effects, they're not sure which one is going to give you the side effects that they're recommending in general. I mean, some say otherwise, but I go with waiting, even though I plan on getting all of them. But it was a great presentation. And we talked about our budget, and for some reason from last year, there was still an item on our capital budget that talked about funding for affordable, accessible senior housing. And why it didn't come off last year, I don't know, because I remember we had talked about it. But anyway, we took that off our budget because it belongs on housing. And it is on housing already. So, we eliminated that. We made some other tweaks on our other requests, nothing major, but kept most of the other items in. can read the minutes for more information. I'm hoping for our November meeting, which will be on November 2nd, that we have a presentation on elder abuse from Neighborhood Shop and also the DA's office next door.
Sounds interesting.
Perfect timing.
Right on time. I don't see any questions in the Zoom or here in the room. So thank you, Mary. I didn't see Steve for health and environment. So I'll move over to housing and human services. I know Marielle was online. Yes.
Thank you. Simari, would you mind moving on to the next report, and then I can go after Debbie, if that's okay? Because I'm actually walking into the building now.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
So Debbie, you're up with traffic and transportation. Hope that's okay.
That's fine. Thank you, Simari. Let me just get to the right location.
Do you want to share it, Matt?
No.
Just give me 1 second, Debbie. No,
Okay.
she's looking at her notes.
Oh.
Yeah. Mary just wanted to share one last thing. Sorry.
I'm sorry, there's, been issues about the M3 bus stops up St. Nicholas Avenue and the discontinuing of some of the northernmost bus stops up there, which is creating great distress for the people that live on Fort George Hill, especially on Fairview Avenue, where they have to walk the hill and or go down the hill. And those are north buildings, which means it's seniors living in, trying to live at home, and with the elimination of those bus stops up there, it's become impossible for a lot of people to get around at all. So traffic and transportation will report on that, but also we're working from the agent committee, and I just submitted to Ebenezer the petitions that they got signed, cover letters, letters that went out to all the electeds. And so we're again resurfacing this.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. We'll have Ebenezer raise it at the district service cabinet.
Yeah, he is the other one. I spoke to him already about it.
Thank you. Thank you, Debbie, for waiting.
No, it's a good segue because that's sort of an issue that's gonna be taken up really by both committees.
Okay.
But let me get to that at the end. So we had a long meeting. We had a presentation from DOT that was probably 10 years. Apparently it had been requested originally to look at this spot in 2013. So it was 10 years in the making. There's literally no good way to solve for it, but DOT came with what was in many ways kind of an elegant solution, but unfortunately, this is with 165th Street and Riverside, where it is very perilous for pedestrians to get over to the park, to get to the dog park, etc. There's obviously people, an incredible amount of volume heading towards the bridge, so heading west on 165th Street, banging a right through a slip lane to get onto the bridge. So it's really tricky. There's a lack of crosswalk. We talked about it for a really long time, but there was, besides the fact of a lot of parking loss, there was sort of one issue that I just don't think we were going to get over. So we're going to have to put it on some sort of long-term process. So it is a reso item, but it was not in a place that we could resolve on it. And there is some time to deal with it. So we have some next steps around, taking another look. DOT also provided an update on their response to issues raised sort of over the course of 2 years, certainly a little bit more during the summers, but drag racing up Fort Washington and then around Margaret Corbin Circle, which is super wide and a fantabulous place to do donuts. Even I would be tempted and I wouldn't even know how to make my car do that. So they have some things that are pretty straightforward, not costly, easy to do. Unclear whether it'll get done before they kind of shut down for certain kinds of work when the weather gets too cold, but there's still a chance it could happen in October if like the weather holds as it is. We will have a resolution on a revocable consent, which for an accessible ramp at Church of Incarnation. And a revocable consent is when a private entity is basically building something on a city sidewalk, for example, or sometimes underneath our sidewalk or etc. So we'll have that people, it's just kind of it's not really something that needs a lot of discussion, but you do need to do it. So that'll be at the general meeting. We did our rankings, and there was one, I guess I want to say it here. There was an application that came into CB12 for a street co-naming. And the person who brought it wasn't there directly. And the person they wanted to do the naming for did not really have a tie to the community. It was the person who shocking and tragically died, found hung in Fort Tryon Park. So it was a little bit tricky because it didn't really, whatever, there's a lot of issues around that. So we just gave feedback to the person that was there representing the person that brought it to us, about, how they might approach it. So I guess, the door is certainly open for them to come back in the next cycle, but I don't think that they now understand sort of what it would need to look like. And we just sort of advise that it might be more fruitful to sort of think about where his life could be celebrated, as opposed to his only tie here being where he died, which seemed like a sad way to go about it. On the agenda, which I actually, now that I think of it, have not submitted to Chanel and Ebenezer, is the M3 bus issue. I will say I worked on that for a year in the context of my work.
Hey, Debbie, I'm just gonna jump in. We gave you an extra minute, so I'll give you like another 20 seconds to wrap it up if you wanted to add anything else.
Okay. Sorry, it just seemed like the last one went on for a lot longer than that. Okay. I think there is a path forward. I would expect that this will turn into a resolution, which would be like a joint aging TNT, but we'll do it at traffic and transportation. But this isn't an Ebenezer, like at least for the original stop that was taken out, that one's not coming back. So what this is about really, so it's not something, he did follow up on it on DOC a year ago, but it's a little more complicated on that. So I would just defer it, we'll have all of the context will be provided and we'll have it in the notes for my November meeting. And then hopefully we'll have a resolution about this issue because it's significant and it's really affecting a lot of people.
Thank you, Debbie. I think Daryl had a question.
Yeah, thank you, Debbie. Just unrelated to your report, but the stairs at the 181st Street A train stop, the new ones.
Yeah.
The other day, it's not uncommon. I use it almost every day. There's 4 or 5 needles on the stairwell. The other day there were like 20. Is there someone that we can call for that? Like, do we call the police? Do we call the manager, the station manager or number that's there?
The station manager, maybe. I have to, because I don't remember the answer to it. I think like Corner Project will come in and clean. They clean up that kind of thing. I'm not sure they're allowed to go into the subway. I can't recall. I should know the answer to that. I just don't remember where that ended up. And so I will follow up with MTA and get reminded of what the answer to that question is.
Because it was later in the day. It was like around 11:30 in the morning. Usually on a weekend, usually when I go in, you know, at like 9:30, 9 o'clock, it's a lot of them are cleaned up, but there's still some. But it was unusual. That's the only reason I bring it up.
Yeah. Let me just, there was a whole group of people that were very upset about like how long it was taking to open the overlook entrance to that station. And they did open a partial access that will, so people are allowed to get in there from that side. So that happened.
Debbie, I got a quick question. What are the parameters for street co-namings? Because I feel like you're gonna get into a situation where everybody's gonna want a street co-name after either themselves or family members.
Yeah.
So and every time I feel like every time something happens, I feel like I'm very confused about like, are there any parameters, criterias? Because
I get the question. Yeah. So, and sorry, I didn't realize I had my video up before, so sorry about that. So, one, CB12 has had guidelines for quite some time. So when somebody wants to apply, Ebenezer provides the guidelines. They are on our website, all of that. So, and I can forward you the package because it's helpful to see. They could use a freshen up, but the general ideas are there about sort of what we're looking for in terms of length of time contributing in the community, et cetera, et cetera. We consider them in April and October each year to align with the city council, and the city council votes on things twice a year. The other entity that can do a co-naming are council members. So what has happened is, depending on the council member and sort of how they feel about it, I agree. Like everybody's like getting in the pool now. Like everybody wants a co-naming for absolutely everything. And look, if you have a council member who's like up for that, then I just assume fine, then go there, because I do think we as a committee do try to follow the guidelines, which isn't everybody in the pool. But I would say that, like, I have been thinking about sort of your core point a lot the past couple of years as this is raised, is like, we're more often getting in these situations where, like, while there's some people who are just like, we should just have none. Like, this is just silly. And there's some people who love them. I mean, so we as a committee, come out somewhere probably in between, but it's getting harder because I don't want people to feel they don't get a hearing. But I also think there are plenty of people who are just like, I just went to the council member, and it's like,
Debbie, thank you. I just wanted to say thank you. I think what we'll do just moving forward is add some more information into the newsletter, just to try to give it some more context in the back end. But I think Michelle also this is the last question so that we can move on. Or back over to Maria, sorry.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Imari. My question, Debbie, is similar to Daryl's. So I always walk by on, in my neighborhood, I walk by like Broadway and Nagel. And for a long time there, I've just seen like a dead pigeon for like probably like a week. I just wonder like who I should call or who I should reach out to for something like that, just to remove it.
Most things like that I think are sanitation, but like, I'm not sure though, that doesn't really answer your specific question. Like, I guess you could call 311. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, and then, but like, yeah, for something like that, it's not like it's a live thing where you call animal control, and certainly like injured birds, like they're not for profits that, but people will come and deal with that. But like, I think generally, sanitation.
Okay, that's super helpful. Yep. I'll keep an eye if it's still there.
Oh, that's really depressing. I do know a bird person. If it was half alive, I could definitely tell you somebody who will come and get that thing to care.
It was definitely very dead, unfortunately. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'll pass it back to Maria with Housing and Human Services. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Simari, and thank you everyone for indulging me. Meant to come on time, but family stuff. Yeah, so we had I think a really good meeting last month. I do want to give a particular shout out to Jay and Emily, who held down the fort while I was on the call from another country. And so they did like an amazing job. And to your point, Domingo, about creating opportunities for committee members and kind of creating that leadership pipeline, that was like a perfect example of that. So we'll encourage other kind of colleagues to do the same with committee members. So we went through the capital items and the expense items. For the most part, we agreed most of the same ones as last year. We did, as a committee, have a couple of questions around follow-up. Kind of looking at the responses that some of the agencies provided. Some were very generic. We were not happy with those responses. And so kind of after things slow down, hopefully starting next month, we can start kind of following up and just talking to the agencies, figuring out, in some cases, they did ask for more information or kind of clarification on what we were asking for. In other cases, the standard response, we will try to recover this within existing resources. But our obvious response was, what existing resources if if your budgets are constantly getting slashed? So, and I'm sure others have experienced something like that in your own processes. So I'll make sure that we get that to Ebenezer ASAP. There's one or two members that have done their rankings yet, but once they do, I'll send that over. In terms of a forward look, obviously I kind of look to the minutes for the rest of, kind of what the meeting focused on. Again, it was mostly on that. But in terms of a forward look, November will be quite busy. We're going to have a presentation from the West Side Campaign Against Hunger. They're actually going to be moving into the old post office building. And so they're going to kind of come provide a presentation about some of the resources that they'll be providing for our community. We'll probably also have Councilmember Abreu join us, just kind of give an update on what his office is working on as it relates to committee issues. And we'll probably also have a briefing from HPD. They're doing a request for proposals, but I have a follow-up chat. I know, Catherine, if you're able to join, let me know to have that. I guess the other thing maybe to flag for all of you is a bit of work that we've been trying to do as a committee on the migrant crisis. We've been reaching out, trying to find out exactly what's happening here locally within kind of CB12. I'm in touch with some colleagues from Espaillat's office, but also just bringing back some learnings because I went down to the border last month and kind of met with some officials and stuff like that. So trying to figure out what that looks like, but once we sort it out, we'll certainly kind of come with a more proper proposal for all of you. That's it from HHS.
Thank you. Mary?
One of the things that came up in the agent committee, it wasn't at this meeting, but in a prior meeting, is in terms of senior housing. If there's consideration for putting in walk-in tubs in any new senior housing facilities that are built.
Sure. So on that, I know that we have for the capital item, it's quite broad. Where it says provide funding to construct affordable, accessible housing for seniors. We also added a new item, which maybe could capture some of this. It's not as specific, but it's to provide funding to construct affordable, accessible housing for people with disabilities. So is it your request to kind of have something quite specific to say walk-in tubs, or kind of just wanted to, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. I can bring that to the committee.
Okay.
Thank you, Mary. I don't see any other hands on the Zoom. So we'll move forward to Parks and Cultural Affairs.
Hello.
To our new chair,
Good
Luana.
evening. Buenas noches.
Congratulations on your first meeting.
Yeah.
Thank you.
How's it been going?
And your first exam. It went really, really well, but Liz really did set me up for success with this. So I'm very, very grateful to her. So the bulk of our meeting was spent discussing the rankings. We did have a presentation, but it escapes my mind right now. So I'm going to direct people to the minutes. I'm actually looking at my agenda, and we had a little bit of a hiccup because I was doing the regular items of Hispanic Society and programming and all of that. And it sort of like created a little bit of a hiccup, but we all laughed about it. So I'm trying to streamline the process in terms of outlining with specificity, programming, and also specific presentations, including those that would require a resolution. So you can refer to the minutes for that one presentation. We were expecting a request for a dog run, and those constituents did not come. They did not come. The bond fund is open, finally. The former New Leap is now called the bond fund. They have a soft opening, so that was really exciting. Debbie also covered that incident with the donuts, which Jenna from Parks also mentioned, so we won't be repeating that. But the most of the meeting, the rankings occupied most of the meetings, and we were talking about what is the most strategic way to ask for priority in terms of projects so that similar projects or similar asks don't cancel each other out. There was a conversation about the rehabilitation of softball fields. So there were two asks. So then the question came up, which one would deserve more priority? And then in terms of geography, we also wanted to be extremely equitable in terms of our asks, so that our asks are not concentrated in one area. We also wanted to diversify the rankings so that they cover ADA, for example, ADA compliance, but also sports. And also the big theme there was Gorman Park. That comes out apparently every year. And there's a case to be made about quality of life. When you improve parks, you improve private public spaces, quality of life, and also crime decreases tremendously. So we know that sometimes parks gets pushed to the back burner because we know that there are some serious issues with housing, but also there's a case to be made for parks. The flip side to that, I've been doing some robust outreach so that we include more culture in it, because it is parks and culture. And I know that parks gets the majority of the focus. That's basically it. That's it. You know, that we were just talking about practicality, strategy, and also diversity within the asks, so that it covers both geography and priorities equitably. We spoke about basketball domingo. I made sure that we also spoke about that. So all of it.
It works, man.
Thank you, Laura.
The city got to work for everything.
Yeah.
Mary and then Joel on the Zoom.
I just wanted to share something, speaking of culture. People's Theater Project is having an official groundbreaking ceremony on October 25th. So that should be, a great event, which I'll be going to. I'm a long-term member of People's Theater Project. I was an actor with them for several years.
Oh. We want to see those
Yeah,
headshots
I wanna-
from your early days.
Okay,
I have. I should bring them.
Yeah. Thank you, Mary.
My walls adorned.
Oh, the organization, I'm so sorry. May I, 1 minute, because my co-chair,
30 seconds.
she's fantastic. It was the DCLA 1% for Art. That was the organization. That's it.
Okay.
10 seconds. Thank you.
Okay. I think you have a question from Joel.
I,
Hello, Mr. Simon.
Hello.
Hi, Joel.
Hey, Joel.
so I had a quick question. I wanted to pass by your meeting because I wanted to suggest a budget item for parks. So I visited Florida like maybe during the summer, and Calle 13 is like a very Cuban centric area in Florida.
Right. Calle Ocho.
Calle Ocho.
Presidente.
No, Calle 13. No, I'm thinking Calle Ocho. Right, yes, wrong calle.
Here for it.
wrong street. Yeah, Calle Ocho. And and I saw that they had a domino park, and I was like, whoa, wait a minute, this is a good idea. And I'm like, maybe I can incorporate this. And I talked to a couple of people from the board, and I'm like, I think it would be parks to include it in the budget, where I know we have a lot of land use, a lot of land in the parks, especially in Dykeman, but what do you think, especially it ties in with culture, to include that? And I know that's probably going to be a huge project, and I don't know how it like translate, but
Great question. Great question, Joel. I think on Thursday, if you attend as a public member at the budget
Yes.
ranking hearing, you can make the suggestion to add it.
Exactly, because we already submitted our rankings to Ebenezer with all of the strikeouts and the new ideas that we wanted to incorporate. But from what I'm hearing, Thursday is the day to propose that as a member of the community. And the same way that we have, I'm envisioning it perhaps the same way that we have checkers and chess tables.
Right.
Cement, maybe just have like although I speak as a Dominican, I don't know if that's going to be up to par with some heavy duty domino players. You know, they have some very specific requirements.
when you slam the domino, it has to make a specific noise. So agreed.
I don't know if polished cement, which is what most park tables are made of, fulfills that purpose.
We'll see, but I'll make that suggestion on Thursday. Thank you.
1 second, don't go away. Domingo, we used to have a lot of people playing dominoes up at Wallenberg Playground.
They still do.
They still do.
Yeah. Dominoes and the longboard chess, like the one that's like you.
No, but
It's
they-
bigger than a chess.
No, but the domino players are using the tables that we already have.
No.
They
They bring their own table.
They bring their own tables?
Yeah.
They bring their own tables.
They bring their
Yeah,
little
and their own
fold-out.
chairs too.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
We're gonna have to do a show.
Yeah.
At the end of Dykeman, at the end of
They
Dykeman.
do that. They
Yeah.
a little. Yeah.
But thank you, Joel.
But to add to Joel's point, I think that would also be a good idea to support Broadway malls, because that seems to be an issue with the domino players, the aftermath once they're done playing dominoes. What that does to the community, the garbage and the pretty much the leftovers that's left after they play. So I think that could also help address any challenges that the Broadway malls are going through. I saw like anything pertaining to climate change or anything like that.
Yeah. But I think it's more about like organized parks, because for us, it's like they don't leave that mess because it's a community inside that space. So I think people adopting those spaces and utilizing partnership of parks to take advantage of doing stuff in parks and engaging the community.
Yeah, just to piggyback off real quick, I feel like there's a lot of especially I'm just referring to the Dykeman Park where La Marina used to be. There's a lot of land that's underutilized there. And I think that creating a community through a cultural game like dominoes will benefit the community obviously, but also have a place to deter crime and have that land be utilized for something that means a lot for the community. So that's just a suggestion. I'll do it on Thursday. Thank you.
An overall refurbishing of that Dykeman area has been submitted as a ranking.
Thank
As
you.
an item. And also the Dykeman Farmhouse has had domino nights. Sorry.
So we'll keep going now to public safety. Just for the sake of time here, Eleazar, will pass it to you. I think you're on the Zoom, if you could unmute. I think we'll keep going to Isidro for licensing. I see you on the Zoom as well.
Hey, Simaris, when is my turn? Tomorrow?
No, I just called you. Are you ready? I was gonna move on just to come back.
But my boy Isidro, I'm gonna give him a fair shot. Go ahead, Isidro.
Thank you.
Thank you, Simari. Thank you, Alessa. Nothing extraordinary to report from licensing. It was a very mundane meeting. We only had 12 licenses. Some of the licenses that were not approved were because either the owners or the reps were not there, or they were missing documents. I would refer back sometime when we report with the minutes and all the resolutions. No major issues, no major complaints. So I would refer back to the chair.
Thank you, Isidro.
Isidro, was that boring, man?
No, it was good. It was good.
One day means boring.
I was there. It was great. It was great. Joel was there too. Okay, so I don't see any hands or questions. So thank you all, and you can watch it on YouTube if you'd like. But I'll pass it over to Eleazar. Thank you, Eleazar, for.
Yeah, thank you, Shamaris, and everyone that's there. I'm gonna do the most unpopular thing that can ever be done, which is to say thank you to Luana Ferreira for being such a voice in our committee, for being that balance, for being that difference maker, for bringing it when it's supposed to be done. So thank you, Catherine, Miss Chair, for taking it away from me. I'm really thankful.
I wasn't a public safety. Yeah, you're sad, Eliasar. Okay, it's okay.
I'm not, everyone has got their own little ways of showing their own emotions, so that's mine. So you respect that. So thank you. So all I have to say is just thank you for being that voice. And I think we had something going, you and Jumina and the rest. So, but I think that you're gonna do such a great job at Parks. I think you'll be again a difference maker in that committee. Our last meeting was very collaborative. Jacob Banners went over our committee selection and the budget part. He explained it, he got it, he understood it. He went over the differences between the capital and expenses. We also looked at what we did last year or whatever was done last year, and looked at the 5 items that were chosen or selected as the priorities. And then we all have a little homework as to bring new items into the game and have our own little choices based on circumstances now. So that was the part of the budget committee. And on the second item was the 2 deaths that happened in our community on 165th and Edgecombe and 185th Street in St. Nick. Of course, the police departments, the police precincts, the representatives from 34th and the 33rd were tight-lipped in the sense that there were ongoing investigations. They both indicated that they had suspects that they were pursuing and so forth. But there was the subject line. Thank you, Tanisha, for bringing that up. We were inquiring and trying and bring about the point of supervision and prevention as a token of showing that they were doing their jobs. We also learned that they are now better staffed than they had been in the past couple of years. I think the Pavan from the 34th mentioned that they were at a 70% capacity or 75% capacity from a 50% capacity that they were last year at the same time. So that was a token of good news. And the 33rd also talked about their numbers, usually the lowest in the area, and in discussion about all the mopeds that the 34th had captured or put in prison or even taken away from these perpetrators. In the past month, about just 75 of these mopeds had been taken away. We also suggested that maybe the right path was to go to the sellers, to the people that were selling these mopeds to indiscriminatory to people with no driver's license, no papers. So it was like a factory going. So we learned that the state, the assembly, and the state is working on a law trying to punish these moped sellers and trying and chase them and punish them for just selling to minors and so forth. Another item that was discussed.
I'm sorry to interject. We're at time, but we'll give you like about 30 more seconds to
go right ahead. I'm gonna say it feels as though the previous person was longer than I was, but I'm gonna let it go. Isidro, you were longer than me.
Other person said too.
5 seconds, yes.
I'll add one thing.
Jumina, you gotta help. Jumina, you gotta help me out. Help me out.
Oh my God, you guys are the best.
Okay, thank you so much. You're doing a great job. Doing a great job.
I wanted to add to Eliaser's report real quick, and just to give a special thank you to Tanisha Grant for being present during our meeting, but also being the one person who was able to say the name of the victim. And I think that's very important for us to recognize her name and who she was and what she did for the community. So I just wanted to say thank you, Tanisha, for saying everything you shared about her. And I appreciate that you took the time to share a little bit about her life with us on the board. So thank you.
Oh, no, I think Debbie, or I don't know, you were
Oh,
gonna.
no, Debbie can go.
I can ask a question.
Debbie has to
Yeah.
go first. and
Oh,
then you can go.
Thanks. And I don't know if this might be more of an Ebenezer thing, but let me just tell Eli and Ebenezer. We have an issue that comes to us a lot about the exit from the Henry Hudson North at Dykeman. And over the years, like DOT has gone in, there's lots of accidents at Henshaw. People like whip around at speed coming off the highway. People have been hit, like lots of signs are knocked down. Like DOT has like made whatever changes over the years, like they keep trying. And like at this point, I think traffic enforcement is needed. Like, so like, I'm just, maybe it's more of a DSC thing, but it would be great if traffic enforcement could step in at that location, because people are entering obviously the neighborhood and a residential neighborhood at highway speeds. It's not, you know, obviously it's not a lot, like it's, yes, you have to slow down kind of suddenly, but it's like there was yet another accident, people were injured. It's just like keeps happening. And this goes beyond what DOT can do with a sign or bollards or whatever. Like at this point, maybe people realize like cops are there a couple of times, like they'll be a little bit more cautious coming off the highway. So,
What is the exact location,
I
please?
mean, Ebenezer, could you bring it in DSC or, you know, and
Yes,
Eli
give me
maybe
the exact
support?
location. More than happy to follow up.
Okay. You want me to put it in an email just so you have it in front of you?
Yes, yes.
Yes,
Okay,
Thank you.
great. Thanks, Evan.
thank you, Debbie. Luana, the last.
Yes, sorry, quick question
Lois?
for Eliasad. With those crimes, I know that probably the NYPD might be tight-lipped, but do we know if this was a crossfire or was it intentional? Was she a target? Because the media is reporting different things. So I'm just concerned that was this tragic, but was she like a target or? She was, right? Is that correct?
They shared a combination of both. They said they couldn't really share much because it was still an open investigation. But the family had come forward sharing that this person, she had previously reported
Exactly,
the
yeah.
person. So
She had an order of protection.
She
Yeah.
had an order of protection, right?
Yeah.
So sad.
I did want to share one thing that Ellie didn't share. The officer Natali commanding officer, Natali from the 33rd is moving on up. I don't know where. And so 33rd precinct's repeating the same process they had before with like community panel to interview the next commanding officer. So it conflicts with last time Jumina and I actually were part of it. So it's actually the day of their general meeting. So Eliezer is going to be there as chair for public safety as part of the interview panel. So looking forward to hearing and good luck on the candidates.
Thank you, Kathy. Oh, my bad. No, all good. Thank you, Eliasad. Two things. One, I understand that you haven't had a presentation from FDNY in a while. I'm obviously concerned with the, with the cold weather and things. This is unfortunately a time where we have a lot of apartment fires and things like that. So maybe one for us to take offline to see if we can do something around that together. So I'll follow up with you. So just want to put that on your radar.
So I could actually answer that. We have noticed that they haven't been attending for the last since we returned back from the summertime. However, I've been doing outreach to the young lady who has previously attended our meetings in efforts for her to come to our meeting for next month.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
For sure.
And then just the other point is around, I think we're all aware of, the situation that's happening around the world, but particularly the Middle East. Is there, some resources or things that we can share with the community around
anti-Semitism and Islamophobia.
We should definitely do that.
All right, like it's,
What's
yeah, I
the
mean,
point?
it's. Oh, I think it looks like
Maybe, I don't know if any of the synagogues are doing anything.
possibly. I mean, I have a few, but they're kind of more nationwide. but they're-
I think that's a debate that goes both sides beyond just synagogues and like
No, I mean, just
happening over
completely,
there is pretty atrocious and we're witnessing
for sure.
basically genocide. So I think it's.
I think,
For sure, but what,
Joelle,
I guess the context, yes, that is true, and it's very unfortunate what's happening. I guess the context of what I'm saying is around what's happening right here in CB12 in terms of the remit of what we can do as a community board.
Yeah.
And so if there's any kind of, whether it's people can submit information on, like hate speech or, things like that. Because we live in a very diverse community and we want to ensure that all members of our community feel safe.
Like there was a little 7-year-old Palestinian killed in Chicago, stabbed 26 times because they were there to eradicate Palestine, like
I think by their landlord.
by their landlord, yes. Yeah. So I think that's a good angle to be able to address these times.
Down with landlord.
I think Joelle, you had a question?
Joelle and then Tanisha, and then we'll move forward. But I'll definitely, I made a note, to follow up.
What's the young lady's name?
What?
You guys were talking about, something that happened in.
Jackie, her name is Jackie.
Jackie,
I was-
thank you, Jackie, what's
I
her
was
last
just
name?
about to say Tanisha Brown would be
Talking about
the
Jackie, what
perfect-
happened to the young lady?
Yes, Tanisha, yes. Hey, how are you? What's her name? Jackie, do you have her last name?
It starts with a B, but I don't want to get it wrong, but she was actually someone that I knew from my community, from my block. So she was a great neighbor and we're very sad about what happened.
Sorry about that. All right, thank you. Sorry about that.
Thank you, Tanisha. You have the floor.
I'll put her last name in the chat for you, Joel. So yeah, I had a couple of things to say. So yes, public safety is an issue. And there's also an issue because like was mentioned before, Jackie had went to the police. She had did everything that she was supposed to do. She was also a longtime worker of the Bronx courts, family courts. Jackie was going to court because this man had actually broke her arm in a previous event where he had tried to break into her house and hit her and members of her family with hammers. Before she passed, before she was executed, murdered, 2 blocks away from where I sit right now, she had just went to court. They had, he had a bail for what he had did previously, but it wasn't a stiff bail and nobody really followed up. So Jackie spent the last half of her days being scared of this person. That is why the other person was walking with her and her dog. And she had went through all the proper channels for help. And yet she still was murdered. Again, across the street from a park where a lot of us live and visit and have walked our own dogs down Edgecombe. So we will be following up. The neighbors and the community is very upset and we want to have this man put away for what he did. The second thing that I wanted to say was about the comments about anti-Semitism and what's going on right now. I think the first thing that we need is education. Because there are too many people that are not educated on the Palestinian and Israel situation, who are not educated and don't understand that for the past 75 years, these people have been treated less than human and, live in an open prison. And I think context is very important for all of us. And that we all should wish that all of our community members, and that's worldwide, our community across the world, have their space, have their homes, and are treated like humans. So we send our love and, our support to anyone who is under genocide and under oppression, because we understand how it feels. I yield back.
Thank you, Tanisha. Yes.
You sharing them, sorry.
Not bad. No, thank you. That's very impactful and definitely for follow-up. I already noted like the resources, but I think education is key, like information. Steve?
Well, I believe in education, but I also believe that there's absolutely no excuse for the massacre of 1,300 innocent civilians, women, children, babies, people who were simply attending a concert. So there should be a discussion about what's going on both sides. And there's absolutely no excuse for what happened on Saturday, which provoked the subsequent events. So you cannot talk about one and not talk about what started this latest upheaval.
Yeah, Steve, but I feel like power dynamic is something also to be taken into consideration, because if a group of people, free people, right, have the ability to get their water, their food, right, and electricity deprived from them, I think the power dynamic that one group holds over the other has to be taken into consideration as well. And I'm gonna use this as an example, and I'm not trying to justify anything, but what we have to use for example is if somebody from this community did something to somebody else and this whole community got bombarded as a result, that is power. That's not even oppression, Steve. That's dehumanizing somebody to the point where you don't even take into consideration the 732 babies that died in 6 days. So let's keep it a buck. Like I hear it, but we also have to we have to be empathetic to somebody else's plight and understand that this is a very complex issue that is not going to be addressed by back and forth, but we should reiterate a ceasefire so that innocent people could stop dying every single day. That's all I'm saying.
Listen, I support a ceasefire, and I don't defend the denial. And I don't defend the denial of food or fuel or water for anybody. So but meanwhile, what provoked this latest back and forth was absolutely indefensible. And so and you cannot talk about one and not the other.
So I'm just gonna take a moment here and pause. I know it's a very sensitive topic and it's a lot more follow-up that we have to do on this. So I'm going to pause it there and carry on with the agenda.
I don't think that's okay that I don't get to respond. I'm sorry, but I don't think that that's okay because that comment was kind of directed at me, and I don't think that's okay that I don't get to respond. But okay.
I just, what I just wanted to say was, can we keep it to what we can do with the community board? Like, I don't think, we're not gonna solve Middle East peace here at this time.
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
So let's keep it to what we can do.
Thank you. That was the context of my comments. The context of my comments were, are there some resources we can share around keeping everyone safe in our community, regardless of background?
Yeah, correct.
The city must have put out some material, which we should be able to,
Everything seems to be so lopsided.
So I know there is a hand raised and I'm just gonna ask everyone to give me a second because if you guys keep talking at the same time as me, we're not even gonna hear each other speak.
Everybody supports people.
Okay, cool.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Adesar.
It was Steve.
No, we're just gonna carry on with the agenda. Thank you, Adesar. And I do want to acknowledge the hand in the chat.
Yeah. It's a reference to the health committee. So
Steve, thank you, Elizar. Steve hasn't shared just yet. So when he does, then we'll allow you to have the question.
Okay, good. All right.
I just wanted to acknowledge the hand in the attendees. That's what I was going to say. Apologies. So thank you for joining in. The attendees are silent observers for the executive meeting, but you're more than welcome to join us on Tuesday for the public session during the general board meeting. So that said, I'll move over to the youth and education for Domingo.
I'm gonna refer everybody to the minutes. Just one thing that we did the budget rankings. One thing that we are starting to focus on is not necessarily the one-offs. So making sure that when we talk about what projects are happening inside the schools, we want to make sure that what's the timing, how long it's taken to initiate these projects, and stop getting caught up in the perpetual cycle of well these individual silo projects when there's a multitude of projects happening at the same time. So we focused heavily on being able to develop systems that provide timelines so that there's accountability within the school construction authority. And I think we focused on that on this particular recommendations. And yeah, appreciate you.
Thank you. Our committee, we have
No,
a
it's a big word.
suggestion for you.
Yeah.
Hold on, oops, I just lost, here we go. And it's on the expense side. Well, two, actually, there's a capital and an expense, and it's around, daycares. So there's one, provide capital funding to expand daycare centers. Obviously, we've seen, things that are happening in the news, but also the reduction, of, funding, federal funding for childcare workers. But also the fact that there's a shortage of staff is a really big concern about kind of lack of childcare. And so on the expense side, the other item would be increased childcare funding to cover costs of care. We can kind of flesh out a bit more, but we thought it would be more appropriate for your committee to consider.
Okay, cool.
I can send it to you?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, bring it up on
Because
Thursday.
our items are, those are our items, or
No,
you're recommending those?
That's
Okay.
what, that's
Okay,
what our
cool.
committee said. Hey, this is actually
So,
better
so
for
on
you.
Thursday, we'll definitely look at that.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you. Thank you, Maria, and thank you, Domingo, for sharing. I will go back before we move on to the task force. I'll go back to health and environment for you, Steve.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So, as I usually do, I report on the latest COVID-19 statistics for the month, for the 28-day period between September 1st and September 28th. Two of our four zip codes, 132 and 134, had fairly high rates of hospitalizations. They were in the top, about the top fifth of all the city zip codes. In zip code 32, the hospitalization rate was 34.9 per 100,000 people. Zip code 34, the rate was 30.8. So what really strikes me and reinforces the fact that we still have the pandemic and we still need to get people vaccinated is that since our board meeting on September 26th, we've had 417 more cases of COVID in our community and 6 more deaths. And I think during the entire summer, we only had about 6 deaths. And now in less than a month, we've had 6 more. So I'm extremely concerned about this. I've reached out to the Ryan Health Center, which is, as you probably know, based as a Washington Heights practice on Wadsworth Avenue, just south of 181st Street. And they also have a mobile van that provides COVID and flu vaccines. I've asked them to join with us to have the community board co-sponsor a day when they would station the van in the district and provide the vaccines. And but actually, the more I think about it, the more I'm gonna ask them if they can do it on 3 different days, so that we can have the vaccine in different parts of the community: Lower Washington Heights, Middle, Upper Washington Heights, up in Inwood, and I think they're going to be amenable to doing that. So I would ask that that if we get them to agree, and I'm very hopeful that they will, that we'll have the full support of the community board, and that the members will do what they can to spread the word to make sure that people take advantage of these free vaccines, which and this is particularly geared also to people who are uninsured, and that may not be the case in uninsured people may not have the opportunity to get these vaccines at most other locations. So I think this is would be a real service that we could provide to people in our district. In the last community board newsletter, thank you. You highlighted the presentation that we were scheduled to have about climate change. Unfortunately, the speaker couldn't make it, so we've now rescheduled that presentation to November. What we did have was a really, for me, an eye-opening presentation about toxic beauty and personal care products. And we have, I think, a pretty good PowerPoint presentation that I would like to have circulated to all of the board members. It's, I mean, maybe many of the people on the board were aware of the fact that some beauty and personal care products contain mercury and other toxins. I don't use them, so it didn't really dawn on me, but there are real issues here that need to be addressed. And there is state legislation and federal legislation that's going to be introduced. And my committee is, after hearing this presentation, is certainly leaning towards passing resolutions in support of that legislation, probably come January, when the bills are actually introduced. And let me just say, we still don't have any word about the reinstatement of the 30 psych beds at the Allen Hospital, although we're now being told that there will be a decision by the end of the year. I certainly hope the decision is in favor of reinstating the beds, and either at the Allen or at Hastings, but someplace in Washington Heights and Inwood. And I've also been told that the building planned by New York Presbyterian on Broadway over here between 169th and 170th Streets is undergoing a reevaluation. There are elements of the original proposal that apparently are being, apparently the whole mix of the building is being reconsidered. And so they were talking about having what they called a child care hub, I believe. They found apparently a new location for that. What we had been calling a hotel, what they were calling rooms for patients' families. Apparently that's no longer going to be included. The apartments for affiliates, that also may not be included. So we have to wait now, hopefully in the near future, and find out what the new plan is for that building. And in terms of the fire department, I'm reaching out to EMS, which is a branch of the fire department, which falls under my committee's purview, to ask them to give us a report. And one of the things we're interested in is whether or not these incidents, like what happened, what was reported on at 165th Street and 185th Street, where EMS ends up taking the victims of those crimes to like Harlem Hospital instead of New York Presbyterian, because New York Presbyterian doesn't have a level 1 adult trauma center. Whether that is something, I mean, whether that's something that's disadvantageous to these patients who are maybe losing precious minutes in being transported to a hospital that's further away. So my committee is going to be looking further into that question.
Thank you, Steve. I know Eliezer had a question for you. I don't know if you wanted to go off mute, Eliezer.
Yeah, Steve, and again, it's probably one of your proudest moments as a board member, which is the accomplishment of having the ambulances at 173rd Street in Amsterdam, which we applaud you for it. However, what that has become is the private parking of the employees of the MTNY, and they create such a traffic problems in Amsterdam by double and triple parking, and even on the sidewalk, they've triple parked. Is there anything that we as a committee, as a board, can do in order to alleviate the traffic issues that has arisen just because of that ambulance issues at 173rd Street in Amsterdam? Is there something that we can do?
Yeah, 172nd. I'm glad you're reminding me, because when you brought this up to me earlier, I actually went over to the EMS space station to try to meet with the captain. Unfortunately, she wasn't in at the time, and I dropped the ball. I didn't follow up. So I'll, as long as I'm reaching out to EMS now on that other question, I'll raise this with them as well.
No, Luana had a question, and then Joel.
Quick question, Steve. Do you have a
One more time. Ellie, is that okay?
Yeah, I'm hoping that when you said that you reached out to someone, was it Sandra Sanchez, the rep, or was it someone in particular?
No, it was. I was trying to reach the captain in charge of that EMS space station.
Okay. Is there anything that I can do to help? As usual, come in.
All right, very good.
Just a quick question, Steve. Do you have the stats in terms of what population would be the most vulnerable in this COVID uptick? Is it affecting, do you have, only if you have them?
Well, let me check the health department
Yeah.
website. I don't think they break it down
By age?
by age.
Okay.
But let me see if I can find something.
Okay.
Thank you, Joel. And
Thank
then
you.
do me a quick one.
I had a question.
Oh, no.
I just have a quick question. Not to Steve, but at what time is it Thursday? I didn't catch the time and the place.
What?
For the public session for the budget on Thursday.
It's here at 6:30.
It's here at 6:30. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So my question would be around breast cancer awareness and domestic violence awareness. Are there any upcoming events pertaining to those two issues, specifically more in the women community, that you may be aware of that could be helpful to address health? And also, would it be possible to create a mammogram van initiative in our uptown community, as is a pretty prevalent issue for women in our neighborhood? As many of the medical office, many of the women have to wait more than 3 months to get a mammogram in Washington Heights. So I was wondering if there's somewhere to address that through a van, similar to
Yes.
Shauna Abreu held something similar
Yeah.
about 2 days
Yeah.
ago.
Yes, I believe the council has funded I forget the name of the agency that operates the mammogram van. But let's look into that, because I believe we can work that out through the council member offices. And if Carmen hasn't taken advantage of that, maybe we can remind her to do so. But that's a good idea.
Thanks.
And I think the hospital may be doing something on breast cancer awareness. Let me find it in my
Yeah,
emails.
they've had a table in the plaza
Right,
every day, just about.
yeah.
Sign people up for mammograms.
Daryl, you're the last.
Okay, thank you. Probably not a question you can answer now, but you saw that the Rite Aid's going bankrupt?
Yes, yeah, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going out of business.
Well, they did say that like 400 to 500 stores will be closing. I don't know. I think one already closed in our area.
Yeah.
Yes.
On Broadway, yeah.
7.
Oh, yeah, that was a terrible.
Two, there was one on.
Yeah, no, there was one in the one
And then-
170s.
And 162 in San Nicolas.
So they're all closed. I'm just curious, like, how this will impact.
Oh, 186 in St. Nick, that's
and the-
forward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was that again?
186 in St. Nicholas
Oh,
also
that's,
closed.
yeah, and what was the one you said before that?
179 and
179 in
Broadway.
Broadway.
163rd.
Yeah, 163rd in San Nicolas.
Personally, know 4 of them have already closed.
Yeah.
I don't know how many are in the area, but it might be worth.
So then the one that's remaining open on, I believe, 172 in Broadway, it's
Right.
over
171,
capacity, like the lines
Yeah.
in the pharmacy section is out of control.
Yeah, my Dwayne Reed is closing. Down near Columbus Circle.
I just wanted to comment that all these chain drugstores came in, destroyed our local drugstores, and now they're leaving.
Yeah.
Well, you know what
I do local.
You know something, I have,
Not my local.
Hilltop Pharmacy.
I have, I don't know about elsewhere in Washington, Heights and Inwood, but I have been amazed at the number of pharmacies that have opened up, independent pharmacies
Yeah.
that have opened
Yeah.
up between 155th and 165th Streets. I mean,
Yeah.
every block now seems to have its own pharmacy.
181 has 2 new ones.
I don't, I frankly, I don't know how they can all survive. Is it,
Prescription
They
drugs are
won't.
expensive.
yeah,
They'll start selling pot.
I don't know. But however, but from my perspective on the COVID issue is that I don't think these independent pharmacies are getting the vaccine. So the chains apparently have a greater chance of getting the vaccine. So this doesn't necessarily help us in terms of making sure that our people are being protected against COVID and the flu and whatever else, RSV. So that to me is a problem.
Thanks.
You're good? Yeah. No, you were gonna say something?
No, that was my.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hold on, making sure. Okay, so we're done with the committee reports. We
Oh,
have
wait,
2
oh,
task force
oh.
reports. There's still potentially 6+ minutes left. So with that, I'll start the timer for you guys.
Okay, I was like, I won't time myself. 'Cause
I'll
I won't
time it,
take
don't
long.
worry.
Okay, thanks.
For the bylaws.
For bylaws, a couple things. Our next meeting, which is supposed to be Wednesday, but we'll talk more about that. It may change, but we're going to talk about Article 10, which is a very long article about meetings. All types of the different meetings we have between board meetings and committee meetings, et cetera. And then also, I mentioned at the last exec meeting about feedback, because our current bylaws say that that the executive committee should be able to provide feedback for 30 days. The only feedback I got was from Catherine, thank you. So if you have feedback, I think the deadline was last Friday, but if you have feedback on the articles that we gave last time about around the elections and board officer positions, feel free to get those to me by this Friday.
All right, so we shouldn't do it tonight.
Yeah, I can recirculate.
Yeah.
We shouldn't do it tonight. I should just.
Like directly to me? No. Like write them down.
After the
Write
meeting.
down your
do it all you
comments.
Okay.
That was it.
Thank you, Daryl.
Thank
I don't
you.
see any questions for you in the Zoom, any here in person. Speak now. No. Okay, so we're moving on to Cannabis Task Force with Nobles.
Hey guys, everyone's favorite committee and task force, just kidding. Good to see you. Thank you so much for your work and your dedication as always. I would say refer to the minutes, but there are no minutes to be had because our first meeting is the first Monday of November. We just saw that on the calendar. In this meeting, we'll be reviewing, I believe, one applicant that's using our most up-to-date application. Thank you so much, Simari, for translating into Spanish. That's going to be absolutely huge and starting us off on the right foot. And so on the first Monday, we'll be reviewing this first applicant. And I'm also considering that we're going to be taking people through the application that have never seen it before, because this is now a public meeting. And I will be able to explain certain things and what the process is going to look like moving forward. Because from what I understand, other community boards are having a lot of scale issues when it comes to applicants for marijuana distribution locations, retail distribution locations. So I'll be talking to a couple of the task force of their chair. I've already reached out to a couple, one on CB9, just to kind of see what they've been seeing, because there's like a process on top of the process we want to put in to protect us from scale and make sure the folks on this committee actually have a life. I'm all down for that. So we're new. We're going to be learning together and revising the process as we go. But the first meeting is on the 6th of November. So it would be great to see you guys there. And we'll talk, Mary, and we'll talk about the scheduling and things like that. I'll talk about that with Catherine.
Right
Any
on.
questions?
I see Joel. Joel has a question for you.
What's up, Joel?
I'm excited. I'm excited about this.
Yeah.
I know a couple of ones have been opening up here and there, card licensees. Is just a quick question about this applicant. Do you know anything about it, or where the location is, and where the any details?
I think they're doing the application process now. Ebenezer, I think, just got our documents and has been sending them out. First of all, for folks that have a question, the only way that you can apply is if you have a place already that you're going to be inhabiting, a business place, a place of business that you're going to be inhabiting. You cannot apply without a physical location, because much of our application is about physical location. So we can't review it objectively without knowing that. So if you know anyone that wants to apply or going for a license, please let them know before doing business in front of the board. They have to have a location. That's one of the main things that we're seeing right now when people reach out to us, that they don't have one and they want to fill out the application. I don't know if I answered your question, but I felt like that was important to say.
Yeah, no, it's important to mention that, because because licenses, like liquor licenses, you need the location first, and you need the approval first. You need the approval first of the liquor license, but this one you need to get the lease first. So I understand.
Cool.
My last question is, there is car licensees that have been accepted in Manhattan. Do you know of any card licensees that have been approved in Upper Manhattan?
Ooh. I think only,
No.
if anything, I don't think so. Yeah, so
The
someone
part-
knows.
Licenses right now are on hold because there's a current lawsuit against it. So
No,
that process is now currently on hold.
No, I understand, but the
Right now, we're nonprofits mainly.
the New York State Dormitory, the Office of Dormitory is still choosing locations. And or have chosen locations. So my question is, it's not really for the applications that are still going through the process, but rather the ones that have already chosen, not them, but have already been chosen a spot or a place.
I don't think there's anyone but one, and that's the one that we're going to be reviewing on the 6th.
Okay.
But I haven't heard of anywhere else. The ones that you see opening are probably, and this is only a guess, they're probably gray market. I've seen a few shut down. I've seen a few open, but no one's brought a legit license in front of the board until the 6th.
Okay, thanks.
Cool. Any other questions?
And Noble, so is this meeting on the 6th, is this a public hearing for?
Yes, sir.
So we're gonna be presumably posting flyers and spreading the word to make sure that people in the community are aware of it?
Well, I mean, I'm assuming that the communication strategy for any public meeting will be using.
Well, I think in light of this particular business, I think we need to make a special effort to make sure that people are aware of it.
You got it. No, I really appreciate that. Let me get my hands on their application. I think Ebony's already sent it to me. And from there, let me talk to Catherine and Ebony to see what we can do with some extra comms. If anything, I would ask the members, especially if I can speak at the general meeting, I'll make a nice little slick social media creative for it, and we can just do it organically that way versus having to burden the office with a little bit outside of the regimen. That'll get around.
Well, they're not mutually exclusive.
Why are we having a back and forth?
Well, because I'm being easy.
Because
I love you, Steve.
It's getting late.
Cool.
Okay.
Thank you for the suggestion, Steve. I'll take it and I'll make it work.
I disagree with my colleague Steve. Whatever we do for liquor licenses, we do exactly the same thing for cannabis. It's no bigger. It's
Dude, simplicity. I love that, Jim. Thank you. Let's have the meeting at your house, bud. I'll bring the dude.
Yeah, I was gonna.
You and I will have a meeting. How about that?
I look forward to it.
Is there any way that Steve or Mr. What's his name? I forgot. Jim allow someone else to speak? No, maybe. Mr. Crawford.
Yes.
Is the bylaws, or are we going to have the same kind of requirements as the light liquor license committee has, which is a 30-day notice? Because if we're going to have it on the 6th, are we like
Great question.
some days away?
Great question. This is 30 days. It's not, no, because there is no process of that regard. What we do like to say, though, is we do want the application 1 month before the meeting. 1 week before the meeting, first and foremost. That's the first thing. The second thing, the number one thing is they have to have a location. But we don't have any kind of like restrictions on posting notice yet. Like if they do have a location, posting notice on that location. It is our first time around. We're still trying to learn that. Like maybe when we see what scale we need to do like really quickly, then maybe that's also a requirement, because that's a barrier for entry. And that's fine. Like you need to have that to manage. I mean, CJ had 12, applicants. When it comes to legalization of marijuana and how we roll out these retails, we're still going to be learning a lot when it comes to that scale. So right now there is no requirement, but I do appreciate that question, because let me keep that in mind, especially if it becomes just too hot and heavy as we start to get tons more applicants.
Appreciate it, Mr. Crawford.
I appreciate that suggestion, man.
Really quickly on the subject, Nobles, I think that just fundamentally is a little bit different, because for liquor licenses, there's a requirement to be accepted to the community board or get suggested or an opinion of the community board to get the licenses. However, for marijuana licenses, that isn't a part of the application. So I think there's going to be like a kind of a learning curve when it
Yeah.
comes to how we
But-
treat these
but-
marijuana licenses. I'm
but-
just
Okay,
Joel,
thank you, Joel.
sort of like chime in. Yes, technically,
Yeah.
that's a good point.
I motion to go back to the agenda.
I mean,
There's the name for
the motion to go back to the
No,
agenda.
it's just a point of order. Sorry, Chair.
My time might be up. My 3 minutes might be up, so I'll be happy with that.
So yeah, Nobles is gonna keep talking with the office.
Yeah, and yo, Eleazar, let's chat on the side, man. Yo, I'd love to do that with public safety. Let's go.
Sorry, and then at the general meeting,
Yeah.
for sure, if there is an applicant that the board will consider, then at the general definitely will be announced.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yes. So we're gonna pass it back to the chair to do a mini overview of the presentation that I skipped earlier. I apologize.
No, I'm not gonna get into it all, just like the key things. Right to Council never came, but this month at Right to Council Coalition, about right to attorney, right, for housing courts. That borough board on Thursday, there will be a resolution that we're gonna be voting on. The goal was obviously normally when something's voted on at borough board, it's because we as a board have already voted on something similar. That didn't get to happen because Right to Council missed the meeting. Yeah, they didn't show up. They didn't come. But based on obviously the position that the board took originally, right, supporting Right to Council, I feel confident I could vote for us and saying yes. Obviously, we want more housing attorneys. So that's gonna happen this week. Nominating committee, we're wrapping that up, but I think that'll be final this week or next week. So they'll definitely be reaching out to you. Darryl, I'm really excited. We got new folks who stepped up for leadership roles and to participate. And then, sorry, one more thing, the hearing, notice. Oh, Dykeman Farmhouse, sorry, I'm like going through all the big business before the fun stuff. As far as, so Dykeman Farmhouse, we're doing our next uptown tour at Dykeman Farmhouse, which was like the number 2 place that most of us have never been and are curious about. And
Great.
yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to it. I've never been.
Yeah, I've never been inside.
You've
The
never-
27th.
I've never been to Dykeman Farmhouse.
It's like we used to live in the old days.
Yeah, so there is a limit capacity, obviously because it's small, and old. So there's a capacity. So if you do want to go, make sure and let folks know. It's gonna be led by the executive director, Melissa. And that's October 27th at 6 p.m. next week. So we'll bump that up again. It's a Friday. Yeah, it had to be a Friday because they're only open Monday to Friday.
Why is it a Friday?
Because they're only open Monday to Friday.
So.
And we have meetings Monday
Which
to
one, private
Thursday.
tour seat?
So Fridays is the day that we don't have committee meetings.
Could have had Thursday, no?
We have general
Thursday,
meetings.
What do you have going on?
Yeah, that's on Tuesday.
Sorry, and I think that's kind of it. I'm sure Ebenezer covered all the big stuff.
We shouldn't do things on Friday nights. Give people at least one night a week.
Oh, and then I can share, I mean, I want to share just two, one, thank you guys. I'm really commending, look at this full table. And I didn't get to talk about it at the general meeting, but I think, sometimes we've been thinking about we got to pull teeth to get folks to our meetings and just kind of that pressure. And I was really proud at the last general meeting. I'm folks showed up, and there wasn't necessarily that call, that text. So I think, folks at our board particularly, are of service, are being engaged, are being accountable, right, in terms of attendance and participation in our meetings. So that's really beautiful to see.
I think we all make sacrifices to show up to our meetings, particularly if we don't have a waiver to be able to
Somebody's doing it.
Yeah.
not allow us to so I think there has to be a serious conversation about attendance and individuals who are impacting quorum. I understand that there's individuals that could be, I like the hybrid model because it gives the community a space to be able to engage the committee in, but I do really feel that there has to be a message out to individuals who don't have the waiver about how that's going to impact either their nomination or something, but they need to understand that we're back to in person. And while it might be a bit more convenient, if you don't have something that arises, but at the committee level is very difficult when you have individuals who don't have these particular health criteria to get a waiver, just showing up, but in reality, we need you in person. I think that has to be stressed a little bit more.
Yeah, I agree. I think what I think would work best is because every case is different, is just keep as chairs continue to communicate with me and Ebenezer if there are folks who, you know, are unresponsive or things pop up, because obviously when we tried to stretch as we could to 7 members, I think everybody got, or 9.
Yeah.
Or try to keep it more even. That way you can have quorum, you can have more meeting coming. I also forgot to say we got 1 new member this week. I haven't been, or last week, excuse me, and the last week. So I reached out, still haven't spoken to her yet. But she's a new appointee. I think we're expecting another person soon. So yeah.
And I said that to say this, there should be an accountability space within the executive team so that we understand there's individuals that might be in several committees, not only impacting mine, but maybe any other committee. And we're able to engage in a dialogue to be able not to only hold people accountable, but next steps to be able to like deal with the issue, because it's pretty, you know, like you can't vote on your, let's say, budget ranking because somebody chose not to show up. And I think that's pretty much.
No, I know for sure. Yeah, okay. That's something we can include next.
And then the communication part, show up and not say nothing.
Because I think people got so comfortable during COVID.
But for the most part, we're just saying, but I would say, you know.
Especially for my committee, because my committee meets in the daytime, okay? So people are at work.
Yeah.
And, you know, they got comfortable just, you know, taking that break from their job, but being there if they needed to be, to attend my meeting. And now there's 3 coming in person. Come on.
Yeah, so we're gonna work on that. I think I just wanted to give a shout out in the sense that for the most part, we're doing really well. And so, but for sure we can continue to improve on that. And I'm done. I'm freezing. I think we all want to get out this room.
May I move to adjourn?
Yes.
Second.
You don't have the right to make a motion.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
You don't have the.
I motion to adjourn.
All right, good night, folks. Thank you for joining us. And Chris is still around.
See you later, y'all. Thank you.